Committee members, take your seats. We're running a little late, not because of the committee's fault. It was because that the calendar took a little longer. I'm going to look at my WebEx person, see who's on WebEx, make committee members.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. There are no representatives on WebEx or no committee members in the WebEx at this time.
Thank you. And committee, you need to welcome Representative Croft. He's serving today on committee. If you want to introduce yourself, you can go right ahead, but I think you're well known among the caucus. Thank you. Committee, we're going to try to start these hearings pretty quick, and then I identified two bills yesterday that we will probably work if we have time. The agenda will come out today for next week. So just trying to see who's not here. With that, Reviser, I'll open a hearing on House Bill 2715, establishing a certification program for county election officials. I'll look to the Reviser.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I think you explained the bill yourself. It's a paragraph. Secretary of State and Kansas County Clerks and Election Officials Association under this bill would be required to create an ongoing comprehensive training and certification program for county election officials. And the certification would be before the 2024 primary, and they would be renewed as determined by the two groups that are establishing the certification. And anyway, that's the bill.
Thank you. Questions of the Reviser? Seeing none. Thank you. We have one proponent, and she told me she would be back. She is. First proponent is Leah Howe, member of the committee. Good morning. If you'll take the podium, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. And so, as you are all familiar, this bill, started as an amendment, and you all encouraged me to change it to a bill. So that's where we're at. And I just want to thank all of you who have given me suggestions and helped to mentor me a little bit in this process. I appreciate that. As you all know, the issue of election security and integrity, it continues to be a hot topic and a big level of concern for a lot of people in Kansas and a lot of our constituents. I'm sure everyone is getting calls and concerns and emails about that issue. And while I'm sure we all believe and know that the job of election laws and making sure that we have good laws is the responsibility of the legislature. And I know it's something that all of you take seriously and have taken seriously in the past and continue to take seriously. And I know we've passed significant election laws even in recent years. But I think it would be fair to say that this is continuing to be a bit of an image problem for our state, along with other states across the nation right now, and that as we have opportunity to perhaps make some needed changes in our laws and build confidence with the public about our elections, that we should take advantage of that. HB 2715 is really about making sure that no matter who is serving as a Secretary of State, the legislature has provided a clear law for formalized county election training and certification. This bill would create a state level formal and comprehensive training course for both the county clerks and election commissioners. One of the reasons that I specify that so clearly is because overt elections is something that I've been involved in. I've spent a large number of years working in polls and things like that. But over time, I have learned that what is currently in place and what currently happens is that when a county clerk becomes elected, they take a county clerk course. And part of their county clerk course is, say that too many times quickly, there's some election training as part of that course. But so 101 counties in our state have that built in, that they have at least some election training. However, we also have, as you all know, we also have 4 election commissioners currently at this time. And the election commissioners, once they are appointed, do not take the county clerk course because they're not county clerks. And so currently what happens is there is no formalized course for the election commissioners to take. So what kind of happens just by having no other process to do it, what ends up happening is they form basically like an unofficial mentorship. They have to build relationships with other county clerks, other election commissioners that have that experience and knowledge, and build relationships with them and work with them and basically be kind of mentored in a very non-formalized, unofficial way. And of course, they can reach out to the Secretary of State's office and ask questions whenever they have them and get those answers. But they have to know what questions to ask, to be able to really use that resource. So one of the things that, as you all know, I'm new here this year, and I have served in the election committee this session, and I just wanted to share 2 examples that I have observed and come across while I was in the election committee that I think ties into part of why this bill is important. One is during testimony and questions in the election committee, we often, of course, have a representative from the Secretary of State's office, and then we also have, very frequently, we have the chair of the Kansas County Clerks and Election Officials Association there to testify and ask questions about bills. And just in the last couple of weeks, while this was taking place, Rick Pifo, the chair of the KCCEOA, used as an example that they, in his county, which I don't remember off the top of my head, so I apologize. In his county, when they receive mail-in ballots that come in to them that are dated the date of election day, but they do not have a timestamp on that postmark. Okay, so let me say that a little better. So when they receive a ballot that has a postmark with the date, but does not have a timestamp included, their county chooses to not count those ballots as legal votes because they cannot be confident that that mail-in ballot was received before the 7 p.m. deadline. So I asked some clarifying questions at the right time and asked him if all 105 counties interpreted and implemented that law in that way, and he told me that he believed so. I was a little bit surprised by this because it was my understanding from watching the Board of Canvassers in Sedgwick County and my other experiences with elections that Sedgwick County does not interpret and implement that law exactly the same way. So I reached out to several different people that, that would have the right information in Sedgwick County. And I did indeed confirm that in Sedgwick County, if it's dated, if the postmark is dated by the election day, we count those mail-in ballots as legal votes. So we have at least 2 different counties who are counting votes as legal different ways, as legal or not legal. So that we have some inconsistency, at least between those 2 counties that I'm aware of. And while that example is perhaps a bigger issue, I think that by having a comprehensive and formalized training course for all the counties, that would go a long ways to at least starting having the same knowledge and the same information and the same interpretation of the laws being communicated to every county. The other reason that I chose to include the KCC-EOA in conjunction with the Secretary of State's office with this bill was because when we have testimony, again, frequently when questions are asked, the Secretary of State's office will refer the questions about counties and how counties do that to the chair of the KCC-EOA because they serve different roles and they have different knowledge bases and they bring different types of expertise to running elections in our state. So, and that's in no way a criticism of the Secretary of State. It's just that they have different roles. But because of that, I think that's another reason why having both parties coming to the table provides the knowledge base that is really needed to do this well and do it effectively and keep it practical. Then I wanted to address, we had, when we discussed this amendment, there was 2
You'll
issues.
need to wrap up. 2 more minutes.
Thank you. Sorry. I forgot to time myself about this. So the 2 issues I did wanted to just real quickly talk about. One is the deadline. We had a couple of different questions about that. One is the deadline that's in the bill is 2.5 years away. I think that's a reasonable amount of time to come up with and implement this. I also want to stress that there's nothing in this bill that would prevent this from being an online program. It could be completely digital. It doesn't require things to necessarily be printed or extra trips for the counties or anything like that. I tried to encourage it to be in conjunction with other training to help keep the costs down. If they wanted to choose to implement this law in that way, then it would be very little cost. And so I just want to encourage you all to support this bill, and I stand for questions.
Thank you. Stand for questions. Questions for the conferee. Seeing no questions, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. We have no other proponents for this bill, and we have no opponents to this bill. But I have some neutrals, so I'll call upon Clay Barker, Deputy Assistant Secretary of State. Good morning, sir, and welcome to Fed and State.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members. I'm Clay Barker, the General Counsel for the Secretary of State. Our position on this bill is neutral. It would affect our office directly, and I'd like to make just 3 points in 3 quick areas. First of all, since 2004, the Secretary of State's office has a statutory mandate. It's Statute 25-124 to conduct training for county election officials. So that piece is already in the books. That training has evolved over time, but generally it looks at things like issues for upcoming elections, lessons learned from the last elections, and new laws passed by the legislature and how counties should adapt and implement them. Some of the techniques we use is matching new clerks with veteran clerks that are nearby, on-site visits by our staff, group meetings where either the election staff will go out to parts of the state and meet with several clerks at once or to attend clerks' gatherings and give election information. And we have generally weekly conference calls with all the clerks to go over issues. Second point is after the 2020 election, and I think we all know that kicked election issues up in the public's eye, we've worked on enhancing the training, especially about public affairs for county clerks and election officials to be able to deal with the public in a more effective way. and also developed a certification program that we're about to implement. And I mentioned that last time I testified. The contract for one of the people doing it is sitting on my desk, ready to be finalized. And we also realized there was a higher number than normal of new clerks coming in that need to be trained. So my third and last point is what this bill would add to what's already in law is it would take the certification program and formalize it, meaning I believe a future secretary could not decide not to certify clerks, but otherwise we have the certification program just on our own discretion being implemented right now. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Representative Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your testimony this morning. You mentioned several ways that trainings occur across the state. Can you tell me off the top of your head how many trainings or ballpark figure, how many trainings you guys have scheduled this year before this election?
I don't have that. I can get that for you. That's done by our elections division. Mr. Caskey handles that. And again, the training can be everything from a formal presentation out on site to just weekly conference calls where we go over issues, but I can get you the numbers.
Generally, would it be a dozen, 20? I mean, how you have some scheduled this year?
Yes, Representative, there is a schedule. I'm just not familiar with the details of it.
Okay.
I'll get that for you.
Thank you. If you could supply that to the committee secretary, we'll get it out to all parties. I noticed the bill, and you're kind of telling me that you're doing this exactly what's in the bill. Do you have a certification process? Because I'm noticing if we would adopt this, the certification shall not require a test. Do you test people?
No, Mr. Chair, we don't test the clerks. We find the issues we believe they need training or more information on and go over that. And our certification program would be if someone has had enough training and experience, they would become a certified clerk, or excuse me, certified election.
But if there's no test, they just need to attend the training.
Correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Representative Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a question on the example that the proponent brought forward about, mail-in ballots being treated differently in different counties, whether they have a precise timestamp or have no timestamp. Is what the different counties have that much flexibility currently, or is that just a question of bad training, or what is the rule on that?
Representative, part of it is that the same law applies to all 105 counties, but each county has their own county attorney who can give them legal advice on how to enforce it. Plus, each county canvas has discretion to do what it feels it needs to. So there can be differences in how counties interpret the same law. Our office, I'm not permitted to give formal legal advice to counties. We give a lot of practical advice to try to keep them all together.
So again, it's a question of just they do have that wiggle room as far as interpretively. It's more of a legal question than it is a training question.
Yes, Representative. And also part of it is just, my example is always Johnson County and Greeley County will inherently have to do things a little differently.
Thank you. Further questions? Boo? Representative Heiberger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at 25-124, and is it fair to say that the only thing that...
Have you got your mic on?
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I'm looking at 25-124. The only thing I see that the new bill would add would be the certification requirement. Is that accurate or not? Did you hear my question? So I'm looking at 25-124, and it seems to me the only thing that the bill in front of us would add would be the certification requirement.
Yes, that's correct, Representative.
Okay.
Add and formalize the certification process. That's not in law currently.
And can I just make a comment on the date stamp? I mean, there's almost nowhere in Kansas where you can drop a letter in the mailbox after 7 o'clock and have it postmarked on that day. So, I mean, I think it may vary from county to county, so that may be part of why they might interpret it differently, perhaps.
Representative, that's the kind of thing where if we see counties are doing things differently, that becomes a training topic for another issue that we discuss with the clerks and how to standardize processes.
Thank you. Yes, Representative Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Barker, in your testimony, you had mentioned the Secretary of State's office is creating a new certification program and that you have a contract on your desk. Could you elaborate a little bit more about what that means? Are you looking to bring someone from the outside to implement the certification or develop it, or?
Representative, we're about to contract with a former county election commissioner, and part of her role would be to travel around to counties and conduct this one-on-one training. So she has a lot of experience, decades of election experience, and it would be a little easier than to have the people from our office constantly having to leave the office and come back. And there's a list in there about the tasks she should be performing for the county's expectations. Now, that would not relieve our office from also conducting training. It's in addition to.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Representative Penn.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here. Quick question. You said that this training, if this bill were to pass, would lock in certification for those individuals, and the Secretary wouldn't be able to do what exactly as a result?
Yes, Representative. Right now, the statute requires training. It does not require certification. That's something we were doing on our own. So in theory, a future secretary could decide, unless this bill passes, I don't want to do any formal certifications. I'll just stick to training.
And would that have any impact on employment as a means of that certification, decertification? Is that what we're after?
Representative, since the county election officers, 101, are elected officials, whether they're certified or not, they still have to do their job. And the 4 commissioners are appointed. So the certification is just to help make sure they do things.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Representative Howe.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to clarify and make sure my understanding is accurate. So right now, the Secretary of State's office is in the process of beginning a new training course, if that would be an accurate way to say that, and with the former election commissioner, and starting to have a certification process. There hasn't already currently been a certification process in place. Is that correct?
That's correct, Representative. The training has been ongoing since 2004. The certification process is new, and as of this moment, it is not in effect, but it's about to be.
Thank you. Representative Heiberger.
I have a revisor question at the appropriate time.
You may.
Is now okay? I just wondered if there was a reason why this bill was done as a standalone rather than an amendment to 25-124.
Probably would be a good idea to just, if you work the bill, to amend the statute that exists.
Thank you. No further questions? Thank you, thank you, Clay.
Thank you, Representative.
Committee, I have one other neutral. It's written only, Rick Paiho, Kansas County Clerks and Elections Official Association. You may read that at your leisure. Anyone else appearing on House Bill 2715? Seeing none, I will close the hearing. Yes, you are.
Mr. Chairman, if I'm too late, this can wait till later. But my question is just, if you don't take a test, how do we ascertain? How do you define certification, Mr. Chairman? And I'd either look to the bringer of the bill or to you, sir, or some. I mean, because I'm unclear what the word certification means in this case. I mean, everybody's taking a course. I understand that, sir, but then you want a certification. So how do we define that?
And then there's no test for the certification.
That's what it says in the.
That's what it says.
Sure.
I have the same question.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you. If and when we work the bill, you may want to bring that up as an issue. But nothing further. I will close the hearing on House Bill 2715. Committee, if I could ask you to go into your file and retrieve House Bill 2462. We'll stand at ease for a moment while you get that file in front of you. Everybody's good. Then I will look to Representative Hazelwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion to pass HB 2462 favorably for passage?
Thank you. Is there a second? Representative, my vice chair has seconded the amendment. Discussion. Seeing discussion on the bill. Seeing no discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can I have a
I'm
moment
sorry.
to pull
Yes.
this up?
I didn't see your hand up.
That's why I yelled out at you. Can I have a moment to pull it up and take a look at it?
Of course, yes.
Thank you.
Were you not here at the hearing?
Likely so, but I'm trying to refresh my memory on what all was
Okay.
involved in.
That's good. Take your time. Representative Howe, we're during discussion. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just found on the S drive, I think the original hearing, the bill was heard on the 21st of February.
It was.
So you have to know the date to find it in the folder. So
Now. Was that helpful?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have it up now. That is part of the problem. When you pull up a bill number, we're going through the dates, trying to figure out what day we heard it on in order to see it. So,
Okay. Connie?
Oops. I just wanted to tell you, there is a little search box in the upper right-hand corner that if you type in the bill number, it'll take you directly to whatever date it was heard.
Was that helpful?
well, I'm trying to put in 2462 and it didn't come up. So,
All right. We'll take our time here.
Can go to the legislative website and type in the bill search there.
I found it there. I'm looking for testimonies. Now I have it. Thank you.
Thank you. We are in discussion. Seeing no discussion, no hands are raised. Representative Hazelwood, you may close on your motion.
I close on my motion.
Thank you. Representative Hazelwood has made a motion to pass out House Bill 2462 favorably. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. The bill passes out favorably. Again, committee, I would ask you to turn to House Bill 2677. I'll take a second. You can pull that up. Has everybody got it up? Okay. For that, I would look for a motion from my vice chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we pass out House Bill 2677 favorably for passage.
I have a second from our ranking member. Discussion. Yes, Representative Hoyt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had some further discussion on this bill and would note that off-duty officers could be carrying a service or personal firearm, and they are required to qualify and train on those and have very different skills than what is required under this same act, the Personal and Family Protection Act, for a civilian 21 and over that is not required to have any sort of permit or training to carry a concealed loaded gun. So I'm going to be supportive of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, one of the issues that I think about when they talked about this was the idea that we go through quite a bit of training, not only for on-duty carry, but for off-duty carry. Some departments, and I can't say how many, we don't go out and take a quota on this, but require you, if you're going to carry for the as a law enforcement officer off-duty, that you go to a class for off-duty carry. Important things to cover. When do you not act with your firearm, even though you may be justified in doing so? Are you going to, create more problems? Those are the kind of things that you have to be trained on. When mistakes happen, as a representative pointed out before at one of the professional football games, where an individual acted outside. I mean, these kind of things happen. It's not a part of training. It's not a part of our creed in law enforcement to act that way. And there certainly should be some discipline that's handed out when those kind of things happen, up to termination if you can't handle your responsibility. But certainly the training is available, and you have no idea how many law enforcement officers out there are ready to help you off duty, and that may include the use of a firearm. So I'm going to be supporting the restriction on this. I'm going to be supporting the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none. Representative?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I close.
Closes on the her motion to pass out House Bill 2677 favorably. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Committee, we have hearings tomorrow. We're also...
Can my vote recorded, please?
Yes. Rep. Heiberger is a yes. Thank you. Tomorrow, we have hearings. We also have the delivery bill, if you recall. So that may take a little time. I know we have a number of amendments. So we'll do the hearing and then we'll take it up and see if we can get through it tomorrow. If not, we will come back Friday and finish it up. So anything else? What I did not do at the beginning today, and I held off, I tried to get this hearing through and get these two bills worked. So I'm going to open it up now for bill introductions from committee members. Is there bill introductions? Seeing none. Is there bill introductions from the audience? Again, seeing none. I will close bill introductions. Anything else for the good of the committee? Seeing none, we are adjourned until tomorrow.